technology has changed seriously. But that does not automatically mean that it makes more sense than leopard shoes. But who knows the real story behind the QWERTY keyboards? In his speech titled, Modern Technology versus Leopard Shoes, please welcome Eugenio Rotari.
One day I was asked to talk about leopard shoes. To be honest, I didn't know what to say because I'm not an expert in fashion. But to be honest, also I need to say that leopard shoes make more sense than QWERTY keyboards. Suddenly, I didn't know what to say. I started talking about keyboards. Does that make any sense to you? What's the connection? Shoes, keyboards. It didn't make sense to me either, but I thought it was a sign that I need to speak about it more, to let people know about the nonsense that we surrounded with these days. How many of us believe in science? Science. How many of you stop at stop signs? Now we are on the same page. Signs are all around us. So if we think of leopard shoes, those are signs or symbols of the 80s. Rock stars wore leopard shoes or pants. So when I see people in leopard footwear, I think of the 80s, and I understand that I need to switch over to that time. Time traveling has never been banned, so why not? But what about keyboards, QWERTY keyboards? Where do these letters come from? I think that everything we read is actually a symbol. And imagine we wake up, we get through the hoops and loops to work, and we are greeted by the keyboard, but what we can say? Oh, QWERTY. Again, I believe in law of attraction. This is like giant Google or Facebook domain. You send a request, you get a feedback. So when we see letters or the word QWERTY, what do we get back? We get a lot of nonsense throughout all day. Where does this nonsense come from? I thought when I first saw a computer keyboard in English, I thought that somebody would think through that this is a perfect layout to prodigiously guide me through typing, but it turned out it doesn't help me much. I thought I'm not the smartest person to question this. Does anybody in this room think of themselves as the smartest person? I'm glad we're on the same page. But I did my research, and for several years I tried to find the reason why we have QWERTY. And I found the story about the inventor of the typewriters. Back in 19th century, Christopher Sholes came up with this idea about a machine that would perfectly print letters on paper. He was a perfectionist. He liked everything to be neat and tight, and even his pretty nice handwriting. He didn't like that, so he wanted to print the letters on paper. As perfectionist as he was, first typewriter had alphabetical order. All letters one by one, none skipped. But one time, half a year later, after he patented his invention, he successfully started the plant, the manufacturing plant that would produce typewriters. People loved this invention. They started buying it, and soon he had a presentation at a bookstore for the typewriters. At that time, he also celebrated his success. He was drinking what he generally called naughty tea. And at this moment, he was approached by an magazine guy. And he was asked, so, Mr. Scholz, what do you think people should focus on when they buy your invention? While he was drinking his naughty tea, he chased it with a bunch of lemons. The lemons were quite sour. So when he wanted to say his favorite word, quality, all he could say was clarity. The news and the article went like a wildfire, and next day people rushed to the stores. They were asking about the QWERTY keyboard. Of course, there were none, and then Scholz factories had to switch it over, change the caps to the QWERTY, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, if nonsense like this could be simply spit out by a person who drinks a naughty tea with a mouthful of lemons, and this technology becomes the symbol of the most popular word in the world, why can't we think of nonsense that we have in our daily life as something that can be easily fixed? And I encourage you next time, if anything doesn't go right and you see it as a nonsense, look at your keyboard and think, my life makes more sense than this keyboard.